Summer, 1944. After the Allied landings in Normandy, German commanders believed they still had one great advantage: speed. They knew the American army had advanced quickly, but they also believed that no army could move faster than its supplies. Fuel, ammunition, food, spare parts. Without them, tanks become useless metal. German generals were confident. The Americans had landed in France, but they were now trapped by their own logistics. Then something appeared on the roads of France. A convoy that never stopped. A river of trucks stretching across the countryside. It was called the Red Ball Express, and it would help turn the Allied advance into a lightning war. When Allied forces landed during Operation Overlord, they brought enormous supplies with them. But the invasion had a problem. Everything had to cross the English Channel. Ports were destroyed. Railroads were damaged. Bridges were blown up. As American forces pushed deeper into France, their supply lines grew longer and more fragile. Every mile forward meant more fuel needed to move trucks, tanks, and artillery. By August 1944, the Allied armies were advancing faster than anyone expected. Ironically, victory itself was creating a crisis. The soldiers had the momentum, but they were running out of fuel. Even the fast-moving Third Army of General George S. Patton was forced to slow down. Without gasoline, Patton's tanks could not move, and Patton hated stopping. German intelligence quickly noticed the situation. Captured documents and radio intercepts revealed a surprising weakness. American forces were burning fuel faster than it could reach them. For the German high command, this was good news. They believed the Allied advance would stall. In war, logistics is everything. Even the most powerful army cannot fight without supplies. Many German officers believed the Americans lacked the discipline and organization to sustain such a massive offensive across Europe. They expected the advance to collapse under its own weight, but they underestimated something fundamental: American industrial power and American logistics. The U.S. Army needed a solution. Fast. Railroads would take weeks to repair. Pipelines were not yet complete. So American planners proposed something bold. If trains couldn't move, the supplies trucks would. Thousands of them. They would create a massive truck convoy system running day and night. Dedicated supply routes across France. These routes would belong only to supply trucks. No civilian traffic. No military units allowed. Only trucks carrying fuel, ammunition, and food. The system would become known as the Red Ball Express. The name came from an old railroad symbol meaning priority freight. And priority was exactly what the Allies needed. Soon the roads of France filled with vehicles. More than 6,000 trucks joined the Red Ball Express. They carried everything: fuel, bullets, artillery shells, rations, medical supplies. Drivers worked exhausting schedules. Convoys ran 24 hours a day. Some drivers barely slept. Headlights were often dimmed to avoid enemy aircraft. Engines roared through villages and forests. Dust clouds followed the endless lines of vehicles. The Red Ball Express became the beating heart of the Allied advance. Without it, the offensive would stop. With it, the army could keep moving. One remarkable fact defined the Red Ball Express: most of its drivers were African American soldiers. At the time, the U.S. Army was still segregated. Many black soldiers were assigned support roles instead of combat units. But the Red Ball Express placed them at the center of the Allied war effort. They drove in dangerous conditions. Enemy aircraft sometimes attacked. German ambushes were possible. Road accidents were common due to fatigue and overloaded trucks. Yet the convoys kept moving, day after day, night after night. Their work delivered millions of gallons of fuel and thousands of tons of supplies. Without them, the Allied armies could not advance. General George S. Patton demanded speed. He believed aggressive movement would destroy German defenses before they could regroup. But speed required fuel. Lots of fuel. Red Ball Express convoys delivered millions of gallons of gasoline directly to Patton's advancing Third Army. Tank crews waited anxiously for the trucks. When fuel arrived, columns of Sherman started moving again. Patton's forces pushed across France with astonishing speed. German commanders began noticing something strange. The Americans weren't slowing down. They were accelerating. German intelligence eventually realized what was happening. The Americans had built a rolling supply network across France. thousands of trucks moving like arteries feeding the front lines. Instead of waiting for railroads, they turned highways into lifelines. The Red Ball Express delivered over 400,000 tons of supplies in just a few months. German officers who once mocked American logistics now understood something terrifying. The Allies could sustain momentum, and momentum wins wars. The Red Ball Express operated for only a few months, but its impact was enormous. It helped keep the Allied advance moving during a critical phase of the war. It proved that logistics could be just as important as tanks or aircraft. And it demonstrated the incredible scale of American wartime organization. When German generals laughed at American logistics, they believed supplies would slow the advance. Instead, the Red Ball Express turned logistics into a weapon that carried fuel, steel, and victory across the roads of France.